This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. At this moment, the mask on Yunxiao's face had been broken, revealing his young and tender face, which had been through many vicissitudes of life, in front of Beiming Lifeng. Under everyone's gazes, Beiming Lifeng seemed to be in high spirits. With his hands behind his back, a sharp light flashed through his eyes as he smiled. "Young Master Yun, it's really a small world." Yunxiao smiled back and said, "We're in a difficult situation today. Fortunately, young Master Lifeng arrived in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable." This was a heartfelt compliment. If they failed to defend Whiterush City's territory, not only would most of the cultivators present die, but the eastern region's united front would also be broken through, which would be extremely disadvantageous to the human race. However, when he saw the smug look on Beiming Lifeng's face, he found it rather funny. But, in Beiming Lifeng's ears, these words did not sound good, as if an adult was praising a child. Yunxiao's peerless and independent charm made him extremely displeased, especially the upturned corners of his mouth, which seemed to contain endless ridicule. His face immediately sank and was covered with a layer of frost. "Young Master Yun, you're too kind. This matter concerns the interests of our clan, so we will naturally do our best." On the other hand, young Master Yun seems to have played an extremely disgraceful role in the war between the two races, and he's now wanted by the entire world. Beiming Lifeng said coldly. "Wanted by the whole world?" Yunxiao said indifferently. "At most, the Red Moon City will put me on the wanted list. I can't live without any enemies." "Oh. So, the arrest of young Master Yun in Red Moon City is a personal vendetta?" Beiming Lifeng coldly snorted, his eyes filled with killing intent. He had always felt a deep threat to Yunxiao, and now was a great opportunity to kill him. A cold gleam flickered in his eyes, and he did not hide his killing intent at all. Everyone's hearts clenched. The cold intent emanating from Beiming Lifeng's body caused their expressions to turn heavy, and they were all extremely worried. Gu Xingxiang hurriedly stepped out of the ranks and said, "There must be a misunderstanding here. If it wasn't for Lord Yunxiao's desperate battle just now, I'm afraid this place would have fallen before Lord Windgrace could rescue us." They've already fallen? Aren't you exaggerating Yunxiao's role, City Lord? Ruan Shichuan also stood up and stared coldly at Yunxiao. How could he deserve such praise in this battle? I can say very responsibly that without him, the result of this battle will not change at all. Everyone's face darkened. Ruan Shichuan's shamelessness was too powerful, but he was from Red Moon City after all. He was also very strong, so no one dared to make a sound for fear of offending him. Beiming Lifeng smiled, as expected. "I know this man is a deceiver. What else do you have to say, Li Yunxiao?" Yunxiao smiled indifferently. "Look at who is accusing me, and who is speaking up for me. Isn't this a personal grudge against Red Moon City?" Ruan Shichuan's face turned cold and he said, "Today, no matter what you say, you won't be able to escape the Beiming family's punishment of justice. I think the one with the glib tongue is you, Lord Shichuan." Jing Yongye's face was filled with indignation as he stood directly behind Yunxiao and said coldly, "Justice is in the hearts of the people, how can it be allowed to be changed by you at will? If it wasn't for Lord Yunxiao just now, how many of us would still be alive now? I, Jing Yongye, may be weak, but I still have a sense of shame." With determined looks on their faces, the few people from the Moon Sword sect stepped out and stood behind Yunxiao. Soon, many people began to move. The members of the Battle Blade team, as well as some other surviving warriors, all quietly stepped out of their ranks to support Yunxiao with their actions. Gu Xingxiang's expression was solemn as he coldly said, "If the Beiming family really decides to make a move against Lord Yunxiao, then forgive me for not being able to sit by and do nothing." He and a group of people from Baicheng City also gathered behind Yunxiao. Beiming Lifeng's expression changed drastically. His face was filled with anger as he coldly said, "Everyone, please think clearly. Once you make a mistake, you'll be consigned to eternal damnation." As soon as his words came out, those who were about to step out immediately trembled. They looked at the experts of the Beiming family and the huge Ninth Order warship, but in the end, they retracted their feet. No one dared to step out again. Yan Shushu directly stood behind Beiming Lifeng and coldly shouted, "What are you guys doing? Ungrateful? If Lord Lifeng had not arrived in time, would you have been able to survive?" The one who truly saved everyone's lives was Lord Beiming Lifeng. A few people exchanged glances before also standing by Beiming Lifeng's side. However, there were only a few of them. The sky was suddenly divided into 3 groups, standing in the distance. Most of them were those who didn't say a word, and the atmosphere became cold and solemn. Yi Lechi pondered for a while in the crowd, then finally stepped out and stood beside Beiming Lifeng. He cupped his fists and said, "Li Yunxiao is a wanted man in Red Moon City. Please, young Master Lifeng, capture him and hand him over to Red Moon City." Although he also thought highly of Yunxiao's role in the battle just now, he was a man of Red Moon City after all, and he needed to stand on the side of his sect. Only then did Beiming Lifeng's expression turn for the better. He sneered, as everyone wishes. He swept his gaze across the neutral crowd and made a gesture of invitation. He said coldly, "Is there anyone else who supports Yunxiao? Please come with us." Everyone's expression changed slightly. This was an undisguised threat, but no one dared to step out. The one who suffered the most was Liao Yongbing. He looked like he was struggling. He wanted to get out several times, but he couldn't lift his feet. Judging from the current situation, as long as the Beiming family made a move, Yunxiao would not be able to escape. But, judging from Yunxiao's calm and composed look, he did not look nervous at all. Perhaps, he still had a trump card to deal with the situation. Gritting his teeth, Liao Yongbing also stepped out of the ranks and walked to Yunxiao's side as he said, "I firmly believe that young Master Yunxiao is not an arrogant person. You all survived the battle just now. Please ask yourself." This sentence made many people lower their heads in shame. Yan Shushu coldly laughed, "Why are you talking nonsense with them? This kind of human scum should be dealt with early. I ask the Beiming family's lords to take action." Beiming Lifeng's expression turned cold as he raised his hand and pointed down. He grinned, "Take down Li Yunxiao. Kill anyone who blocks your way." The air in the sky froze, and everyone felt a boundless chill. They retreated one after another, and the sky suddenly became empty. Young Master only needs to give an order to deal with this kind of trash. There's no need for him to show his face. The crowd only saw 2 martial emperors flash in front of Beiming Lifeng. One of them was the 4-star martial emperor who had a conflict with Yunxiao in Haitian town the other day. His face was cold and full of sarcasm, and he looked at Yunxiao as if he was a dead man. "He's the #1 rising star after all," the other person said with a smile. "We can't be careless." "If you're worried, then just watch from the side," the man laughed. The man turned into a beam of light and rushed at Yunxiao. His companion smiled indifferently and followed closely behind. Although both of them were 4-star martial emperors, Yunxiao's reputation was too great, so they were still afraid of making any mistakes or accidents. As the 2 of them flew over, their auras rose to the extreme, and the whole sky was covered in a bone-chilling cold. Some low-rank martial supremes behind Yunxiao shivered with cold, their lips trembling. However, they were still afraid and no one took a step back. Liao Yangbing's eyes were filled with worry. He was naturally not worried about the 2 4-star martial sovereigns, but he was worried about how many experts the Beiming family had on the warship. Moreover, this 9th-grade warship was not something they could stop. At this moment, he started to doubt his own choice and even felt a little regretful. After all, offending the Beiming family would definitely not end well. However, things had already come to this, and there was no room for turning back. He could only walk this path to the end. Gu Xingxiang's face was cold as well. He had decided to fight Yunxiao to the end. He took a step into the air and was about to face the enemy. Suddenly, a hand reached out and stopped him. Yunxiao's eyes narrowed slightly as he took a step forward and said indifferently, "Since that's the case, I will personally kill you, the appointed successor of the Beiming family." His voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly heard by everyone, and they were all shocked. For some reason, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. It seemed that he could do what he said. The descendant of Beiming Dark Palace, one of the 7 super forces, was going to die here today. Beiming Lifeng's heart also trembled, and a look of fear appeared on his face. The other party had only said a few ordinary words, so why did he feel such fear? He was the successor of Beiming Dark Palace and the future overlord of the world. Big words. Just turn into ashes and fly away. The 4-star martial emperor slammed his palm down, and a stream of cold air took form in his palm. It was like a huge icicle that broke through the air and fell down. The surrounding air was immediately frozen, turning into a cold light blue color. Beiming Dark Palace's ice Shen Qi was not only extremely cold, but it also had a very strong cold poison. Once it entered the body, it would continuously destroy the body's meridians and corrode the foundation of martial arts. It was one of the few vicious divine arts in the world. Yunxiao raised his head slightly and said in a low voice, "Last time, I said that I would beat you up, but I still gave you a chance. It's a pity that you didn't cherish it, and no one in this world can save you." The aura on his body suddenly rose and reached its peak in an instant. The power of a 2-star martial emperor burst out. What? The members of the Beiming family were all shocked. Beiming Lifeng's face was even more dumbfounded as he stood there, dumbfounded. Back in Red Moon City, Yunxiao was only a 6-star martial supreme, but he did not dare to stand in his way, so he could only hide in the void in humiliation. How long had it been? He had only managed to step into the 3-star realm with the help of countless natural treasures. However, the other party had already crossed a major realm and was catching up to him. If Yunxiao, a 6-star martial venerable in Red Moon City, was comparable to a 4-star martial emperor, then he, who was now a 2-star martial emperor, had a very strong combat strength. Beiming Lifeng felt his hands and feet turn cold. It was as if something was stuck in his throat, and he couldn't make a sound. A fierce gleam flickered in Yunxiao's eyes as he raised his hand and grabbed at the icicle. His entire hand turned golden, like an iron arm. The 4-star martial emperor was also shocked by Yunxiao's cultivation base, and he seemed to realize that the battle was not going to be simple. But, when he saw that Yunxiao was trying to take his ice true energy with his body, he was overjoyed and laughed wildly. How arrogant. You're looking for death, no one can save you. The essence force in his hand increased a bit more, and the icicle condensed a few more rounds, and flew down. Bang bang bang. A loud noise of friction rang out as Yunxiao's golden hand grabbed the tip of the awl and stopped it from falling. A large amount of ice shards were sent flying in all directions, and the cold air that spread out was like a white mist that shrouded both of them. What? The 4-star martial emperor's heart trembled. He was very clear about the power of this move. It was impossible to receive it without a 9th-tier profound weapon. Could it be that his hand had already reached the strength of a 9th-tier profound armament? The cruel reality did not give him any time to think. The icicle's momentum was completely stopped, and it was clenched tightly in Yunxiao's hand. You're so silly. What's going on? He said in horror. But just as he spat out a word, he saw an unbelievable scene. The icicle was cut off with a bang. He opened his mouth in horror, only to see Yunxiao suddenly disappear from where he was and teleport right in front of him, almost sticking to his body. Then, Yunxiao shoved the half-broken icicle into his huge mouth. Bang. The icicle exploded in the 4-star martial emperor's mouth, and his entire head exploded on the spot, turning him into a headless corpse. However, not a single drop of blood flowed out, and his body was completely frozen. Everyone's heart turned cold. They could not believe what they had just seen. A 4-star martial emperor had died just like that? His companion was stunned for a moment before he immediately turned into a ray of light and fled. All his potential was unleashed at this moment, but he still regretted not practicing more escape techniques. He felt that he had escaped too slowly. Peepa. The sound of thunder and lightning came from the sky. The lightning streaked across the sky and caught up with the martial artist. His entire body turned into a green sea of lightning and passed through the martial artist. Pai pa pai pa.
Ah! Ah!
A deafening scream came from the green prison of thunder. The martial emperor's body trembled and his face twisted in extreme pain. Yunxiao's face appeared in the lightning. One of his hands materialized as he raised the hammer high and smashed it down at the martial emperor. Boom! The sky trembled, and a flash of lightning bloomed above the martial sovereign's head. His entire head was turned into a pile of minced meat. Not only was blood oozing out of his pores, but there were also all sorts of yellow and white things. Pai pa pai pa. As the lightning disappeared, the two bodies fell from the sky one after another and fell into the ruins below with a plop sound. They became two of the countless bodies, and it was difficult to distinguish them. Yunxiao appeared and stood quietly in the sky, his expression calm and composed, as if he had not made a move at all. His cold light swept across the void like water, looking at Baiming Lifeng. It wasn't just Baiming Lifeng who sucked in a breath of cold air and retreated in shock. Even Ruan Shichuan, Yan Shushu, and the others were scared out of their wits. They retreated continuously, and the entire Baiming family's formation retreated several hundred meters. With his hands behind his back, Yunxiao raised his foot and took a step forward. The Baiming family's formation was once again thrown into chaos, and they were forced to retreat a few dozen meters. Yunxiao frowned. What? You retreat 100 meters every time I take a step forward? When will you catch me and bring me back to Red Moon City? Ruan Shichuan and the others' faces were all red, but they were even more frightened. Baiming Lifeng hurriedly calmed himself down. Yunxiao's words were like a huge humiliation on his back, making him gnash his teeth. He was going to be the future overlord of the world, and if he retreated now, he would lose all his face, and how could he lead the people in the future? He gritted his teeth and said coldly, Li Yunxiao, you're ruthless. How dare you kill my Baiming Dark Palace's people? There will be no place for you in this world. Come quickly, Yunxiao said with a faint smile. I don't want to have a place to stay. He took another step forward. Voila. The group of people once again retreated, leaving only Baiming Lifeng standing in front. Baiming Lifeng's face was ashen, and his heart was filled with fear. However, he could not retreat at this moment, and 2 lines of cold sweat trickled down his temples. Humph, you're so arrogant and ruthless at such a young age. It seems that the Red Moon City was right to want you. A cold voice suddenly came from the 9th grade warship that had been hovering in the sky. Then, frost fell and snow fell from the sky. The weather changed drastically. Although the temperature had dropped, Baiming Lifeng still felt as if the sun was shining down on him. The chill in his heart was instantly dispelled, and he was on the verge of tears. He shouted, 7th uncle, please capture this person and get rid of evil for the world. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Under their divine sense and eyes, they did not sense any movement at all. Then, they found a man standing in front of them, his white robe fluttering in the air, and he was facing Yunxiao. Yunxiao looked at the expert in front of him, but he had no impression of him. He guessed that he was also a minion. Frowning, he said, Baiming Dark Palace doesn't have anything else, but toads. Bastard. You actually dare to speak rudely. The white-robed man's face turned cold and he said angrily, I originally wanted to give you a chance to die a quick death, but it seems that you don't need it anymore. Oh? Yunxiao said indifferently. The white-robed man said coldly, I could have put you to an end if you knelt down and admitted your mistake, but it's too late now. Please remember the name of the man who killed you, Baiming Zhe. You can go to hell and cry to the king of hell. His face was full of mockery and ridicule, as if he felt that Yunxiao would be upset if he lost the opportunity. Yunxiao's face darkened as he said with a frown, where do you idiots get such a sense of superiority? I just killed 2 people and you were so scared that you almost cried. Why are you suddenly so mighty? Does your Baiming Dark Palace look more impressive with more dead people? Damn it. Baiming Zhe's face turned red with anger. He let out a furious roar and his aura exploded in the air. An unparalleled pressure rushed forward. Everyone's heart trembled violently. Only a high-level martial supreme would have such a strong pressure. For a moment, everyone was in a different mood. Yan Shushu and the others were overjoyed, but they secretly scolded themselves for being too panicked and embarrassed just now. With the people of Beiming Dark Palace here and a 9th-grade battleship in the sky, what kind of waves could the other party cause? A 7-stars martial emperor? He's not strong enough. Yunxiao's eyes turned cold as he turned his palm into a sword and slashed down. Boom. The unparalleled pressure was directly slashed apart, and the space in front of him twisted and swayed. I'm going to use a hook to hook your tongue out. Beiming Zhe was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. With a loud roar, he turned into a white light and pounced into the air. He made a seal with his hand and slapped it out first. A wave of dazzling light rippled in the air, as if a mountain of 10,000 feet had fallen from the 9 heavens. A vast and majestic power spread out, shocking everyone. Is this the power of a high-level martial emperor? Everyone felt a sense of shock and yearning in their hearts, but most of them had different expressions on their faces: worry and joy. Liao Yangbing's eyes were also filled with worry. Although Yunxiao had killed a 6-stars martial emperor with 1 strike, that was all he had, and it took him a long time to recover. Yunxiao did not back down in the face of the power of the move. He simply stretched out a finger and pointed it out in the air. What? He actually wanted to fight me with just 1 finger. Beiming Zhe's eyes were burning with anger, and his internal organs were already injured. Bang! The finger radiance streaked across the sky like a shooting star, like a stone falling into the water. Beiming Zhe's seal was immediately stopped, and a powerful water ripple spread out in the air, unable to land. What? Beiming Zhe's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Even a 6-star martial emperor would be seriously injured by this move, let alone a 2-star martial emperor. Damn it! He finally understood that Yunxiao's strength could not be estimated with common sense. He turned in the air and changed his hand seals at an extremely slow speed, but each seal caused a strange phenomenon in the world, as if it was matching with his moves. This is... Beiming Lifeng's eyes were filled with fear as he muttered to himself, 3 moves from beyond the heavens? Is Yunxiao so powerful that he has to use such a move? In his fear, his eyes shone with a strong killing intent. He had never wanted to kill Yunxiao as much as he did now. From the side, Yan Shushu observed Beiming Lifeng's expression and hurriedly smiled, trying to please him. Lord Lifeng, don't worry. That Li Yunxiao is just a grasshopper after autumn, and he can't jump more than a few times. Beiming Lifeng's face turned cold as he said, get lost. Although he wanted to kill Yunxiao very much, he also respected his peerless talent and powerful strength. Looking at Yan Shushu's despicable appearance, he felt nauseated. Yan Shushu's smile froze on his face. He was extremely embarrassed. A trace of anger flashed through his eyes. Fortunately, everyone's attention was on the battle, and not many people saw him embarrass himself. Yunxiao's face flickered as well, as if he had sensed the pressure of the move. He hurriedly retracted his finger, transformed into a thunderbolt, and began to condense a thunderball. Beiming Dark Palace's ice magic had to absorb the cold qi from the extraterrestrial dark stone. It was said that this stone was formed by the extreme yin and cold in the world. It was not an item of this world, but it somehow fell into the human world and was obtained by the Beiming family's ancestors, who created a magic. Not only that, ever since the Outworld Darkstone was discovered, 3 extremely powerful techniques had been imprinted on it. The techniques were nameless and were honored as the Outworld 3 techniques. One was to indicate the origin of this move, and the other was to indicate that this move was extremely powerful and could only be obtained from beyond the heavens.